Knock it off.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Persons under 18 will not be admitted.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another kick-ass episode of Still Toking with. Yeah, you know who I am. At least I hope you do. If you don't,
my phone's
well,
fucked up. My phone's fucked up.
Your phone is fucked up?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's phones are fucked up.
Everybody's phones are fucked up. I blame these two guys. They're causing all kinds of fucking shit going on. Shit's not working. Fucking.
So, well, that's, part two. We had some technical fucking issues when we did part one, if I remember correctly. We were partway through the story and like the internet did some glitchy shit. And hey, they just don't want you guys to know the truth. I mean, it's that simple. That's how I'm going to view it. Because I'm having a little bit of technical bullshit going on right now with some of the streams. So
I noticed that.
If you're not seeing us on a channel, no, fucking well, find us someplace else, I guess. But with that being said, I want to get the show moving along here. So the flashy one himself, Mr. Jeffrey Mark.
Good evening, everybody. Hey, this show is going to be so exciting. I don't even want to waste any time. Let's bring in our buddy, the one with the biceps, Jeff Holman. How are you, my boy?
Good. It's Wednesday. 7 o'clock. I should be sleeping because I'm old. No, I'm just kidding. No, this is going to be fun. I don't want to waste any time either because these guys got a lot to say. And like I said, I think the, oh, was that a plane I just heard go by? Oh shit.
No,
Yeah, no, there's some weird stuff going on here. Anyway, let's bring these guys in. I don't know if I'm going to fuck your last names up, but so I'm just going to say Tosh and Ralph. Let's keep them undercover a little bit.
There you go.
Okay. I thought it said this show was for mature audiences only. Doesn't that leave Ralph and I out?
We do include the elderly. We include the elderly.
Got to be over 18. That leaves me out right there.
So welcome, guys.
Welcome.
That's good to be with you.
Thank you.
It's good to be anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, unfortunately, I had missed part one. I did go back and watch it later on. I was kind of blown away and intrigued, and I think you guys have a lot in your heads that most people they don't even know it exists. To be honest,
I've been accused of that before.
Yeah.
I got a lot.
So the last time you guys were here,
Yeah.
we talked about Cuba,
Yep.
and we talked about JFK, and it's a cliche. We didn't scratch the surface. We didn't even get our foot near the surface to scratch it. There was so much information to share, and so much that you guys investigate, uncover. I think one of the reasons why we're having just the teeniest bit awkward getting into the show, we don't know where to start because there's so much.
Let's start with the book.
Yeah, let me start. Let me just kind of introduce the subject here.
Please.
Yeah, I'm a best-selling author. I met Tosh a couple of years ago, and the thing that's interesting about Tosh is he was a contract pilot for the CIA. So he was part of he was not officially on the CIA books because of the kind of stuff that he could do could be easily denied. So he was what they called a cutout, and he worked for cutout companies. So a lot of times the CIA will say, "Oh, we didn't do that." Well, they didn't do it officially, but they did it through cutouts like Tosh. And Tosh has done that for many years, starting when he was about 17 years old, when he was supplying guns to Fidel Castro in the mountains of Cuba. And from there, he worked for Castro, and then when Castro came to power, he worked against Castro because it just kind of switched their position. And that led him into a lot of other operations, and he was actually in Dealey Plaza the day Kennedy was shot and witnessed it. And then from there, they were after him because he had been a witness to the events. And so he knew that the official story was complete BS. They tried to kill him. They tried to sort of put him out of business. And then they needed him again when the whole Iran-Contra business, the drugs to supply, the money from the drugs to supply the Contra, the Nicaraguan Contras, they called him back. And that became sort of the, part two of his adventures.
Well, let me add a couple things in on that, if I might. I was a product of World War II. Split home, 4 years old. Mom worked at Haggard Slacks. Did work. My dad worked for Dallas Love Field for Lockheed on the P-38 Lightning. So I was raised in the war years where everybody was extremely patriotic. It's not like it is now. I can remember at Highland Park Pharmacy in Dallas where a guy dropped the American flag on the floor, and a Marine that goes there a lot walked up to him and literally beat the hell out of him for dropping the American flag on the floor. Now that was in World War II, 1942. So I was just a kid, and I used to sit there at Highland Park and I'd listen to all their stories about B-17s, the 8th Air Force, bombings in Germany and the submarine pins. And those guys actually taught me how to fly. They told me about PAT, power, attitude, and trim, and all that. I was 6, 7, 8 years old. We used to go out to Love Field and lay down on the runways and watch the B-17s fly over, and they'd give us the finger and we'd give them the finger back. You know, I mean, just stuff like that. So, but the thing, there's always an incident in everyone's life that you can remember that literally changed your direction. And mine was at a Fort Bliss, Texas, in a grenade bunker when a drill sergeant threw what I thought was a live grenade in our bunker. And I picked it up and I threw it down range. And they called me in front of my CO and said, well, I didn't throw it down range. I threw it back to the drill sergeant who dropped the grenade in the bunker that we were in. Turned out it was a practice grenade, and it blew smoke all over him, and it was very embarrassing for him. They put me in front of the CO, and the CO wanted to know why I was going to frag my drill instructor. And I told the CO, and there was some CID guys there, that I wasn't going to give that SOB another chance to frag us and take us out. So that's the reason I threw a grenade back at him. That was the beginning of me getting associated with what was known as the CID, Criminal Investigation Detachments, which led me into the CIA. CIA at that point, and I was underage. I joined the military when I was 14 years old, Texas National Guard, lied about my age, forged my birth certificate. I could talk the language, so I got in. So, but that was a turning point in my life, and that's what brought me into what later would call specialized ops. This was before the Green Berets were formed. Now, don't let me ramble here, Ralph, but
Yeah.
that was a focal point that I go back in and I have to ask myself, where did it all start for me? What changed my direction in life? Did I go to college? Did I go to this? I was a good bullshitter. I would have made a hell of a good actor because I was a good liar, and they picked up on that. And as a result, at that particular point in time, they were they were recruiting and putting together a special operations of young juvenile delinquents, young boys that were bound to be headed for prison. And I was one of them, running the streets of Dallas. I got 30 tickets in 30 days on my BSA motorcycle, my B-34. I used to outrun the Dallas cops just for fun, and that attitude. But it was that moxie and that attitude that got me on this road that we're now going to try to explore a little bit.
Deliberately, the intelligence service, which was the CIA, wasn't even formed in those days.
No.
It was still military intelligence.
Well, it was formed, but no one knew about it. I mean,
they were looking for like juvenile delinquent type guys who had a lot of moxie and weren't afraid of anything, and they recruited about 55 of them in Dallas, and one of them was our friend here, Tosh. Another one of them was Lee Harvey Oswald, and Lee Harvey Oswald and Tosh trained from an early age. They were sent to a training facility in Nags Head, North Carolina, called the School of Illusionary Warfare. And the School of Illusionary Warfare is where they took these kids who were, badass kids, and they kind of formed them. They kind of trained them. They used a lot of the MK Ultra techniques. They separated kids into different specialties. Lee Harvey Oswald was good with languages. He had a great affinity for picking up languages, so they gave him extensive Russian language training. And Tosh was put into an infiltration unit. And their lives crossed several times.
Couple of times, yeah.
Leading up to Dealey Plaza.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So for our viewers and our listeners, if you caught part one of this series of interviews with these gentlemen, those are the things that we discussed in depth during those interviews. It's also in the book, Deep Cover, Shallow Graves, which you can find in the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. So, yeah, I mean, there's just so much shit that you have been involved with It just blows my fucking mind.
Well, your average person doesn't even know this kind of shit exists.
No,
I think they
Well,
don't.
No. Well, this is all deliberately cloaked from the American.
Mm-hmm.
So
when
it's
when the Warren Commission come around, the FBI approached me. I drew a map for them in April of 1964, before the Warren Commission was even formed, showing where Sergio and I were located at the time of the shots were fired. It doesn't matter how you cut the cookie in this particular case of my life. Everything goes back to that JFK. Who killed JFK? I've been involved, and I bet you over 125 different sorties or specialized operations from the 50s all the way up to the 90s and re-engaged and all that. I mean, that's the story. That's what this book, Deep Cover, Shallow Graves, is all about. It starts out with a young kid hanging out at Love Field during the war years, laying on a runway, watching B-17s flying over, being chased by the MPs and blah, blah, blah. All these little personal anecdote stories that I remember, which Ralph is great enough to put together and do this book. So it starts out with my life and recruitment based upon a lot of things that was done with the OSS in World War II. Most all the guys that I associated with in my early years were old OSS operatives that worked behind the lines in Germany during World War II. They later became known and worked with Cuban operations known as JMWave, blah, 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 and the history of all this. All this was not known about until after the Kennedy assassination, when the investigation started. A lot of good friends of mine were character assassinated that was involved in these operations that Ralph just mentioned, that was starting to talk and say, hey, man, this is what we did. This is what we were involved with. Well, then our federal government had already had a deal where this is what happened. And if you talk about anything else, you're going to get your ass in trouble. So you're going to go to prison. You're messing with your classified information. Now, this was before anybody really knew what the CIA was. The CIA was formed in 47. I'm talking about the years of 52, 54. So, and up into Cuba, 55 and 56. Flight training through the GI Bill when I was 16, 17, 18 years old. So anyway, there's a lot to crowd into this book. And it's very, like you said earlier, it is complicated. It's so simple, it's complicated, if that means anything.
May I ask a big picture question?
Sure.
We spoke last time in depth about the Warren Commission being useless, basically, and your feelings about what happened and how it happened and who it happened. Everybody involved with this, except for you, basically, is gone now. Why is it this big bugaboo that we can't just tell the American people, all right, in the moment, we couldn't tell you the truth for security reasons. Now, all these many, many, many years later, here it is, kids. Here's what happened. Here's what went down. All those folks are dead. Let's move forward. Now you know and you can relax. Why can't they do that? Because
the legacies. The people that were involved in the cover-up, if you want to call it that, the Warren Commission, and all the way through Nixon, the Nixon era, Watergate, Howard Hunt, Dorothy Hunt, even up to Gary Powers and his death and so on like that. There are so many dark secrets in our government that is now the legacy has to be protected. They will never release those documents until I am long, long gone. I'm 88 years old. I'm supposed to be dead. Everybody that was associated with our crew is dead and gone. Bill Harvey is gone. Frank Sturgis is gone. John Martino is gone. Okay, these people meant absolutely nothing until after the investigation started, after Kennedy was killed, and it led into a lot of other things. Then we come up into the Nixon era and the LBJ era and all the conspiracy stories that started And a lot of these stories were planted to stop people from me being creditable to tell you a story of why the Warren Commission was withheld, why the operatives never got a chance to testify to the Warren Commission. It was already preconceived that my friend Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone crazy assassin that shot the president, and that's the way it was going to be, with a silver bullet that flipped in the air and went back and did some crazy shit and things. And that was what the American people were told. In other words, in those days, if you remember, whatever the federal government said, the American people would take it to the bank. It meant that our loyalty to the American flag, patriotism, and our government and the president, we loved that. We loved the president. We loved the patriotism that went on. We fought for the flag. We still cherish the blood that was lost in Saipan and Corregidor and all those places. That was our history. That's what we knew in those days. We honored that.
Yeah, I would, to answer your question, Jeff, I would say that the reason that they continue to withhold information is that this reveals that there's sort of a secret government,
Right?
But behind our government. There are forces behind our government that include the military-industrial complex, that include, high worth banking individuals, and operatives who do a lot of the dirty work that they don't want people to know about. So they put forward like the FBI, the CIA, as sort of the official front of the government, but behind them are the contractors, are the people that you don't hear about, that have no official status, right? If somebody finds one of them or catches one of them, the CIA or the FBI, the government denies we don't know who that guy is. They don't work for us. Well, then, who do they work for, right? And so when you come to the Kennedy assassination, it's like, well, they gave us this story about what happened. And over the years, people have just been picking it apart. It doesn't make sense. None of the facts add up. The number of bullets that were shot don't, the rifle was a $25 rifle with a misaligned scope. There's no way. Lee Harvey Oswald was not a marksman, although they claimed he was. So what they do, and what Tosh learned how to do and Lee Harvey Oswald learned how to do at the School of Illusionary Warfare, is to put out propaganda, to put out stories that misdirect people from the truth, right?
Let me insert exactly what Ralph is pointing at. In the CIA manual, there's a thing. If you can control the media, you can control the thinking of the American people. That was the beginning of Mockingbird. That was the beginning of infiltrating operatives into our media formats to spread information, derogatory information that was not true, that would make the American people see things from a different direction. For instance, if an operative like me started talking about a particular operation, or saying I was there when Kennedy was killed, we had to be defused. We had to be taken out. Don't mean killing, means character assassination. If character assassination didn't work in those days, and if the media was infiltrated and was not getting that information out, then we would be taken out, which not doing our job. So it was an illusion. That's what the illusionary warfare was all about. That's what propaganda was all about. Germany had a very good hand in propaganda. I mean, they were noted. We took over some of their actual operations and emphasized, and MK Ultra is another good example of mind control. So all these things were started in the 50s and started played against the American people to make you think something, you buy the illusion that we create. Am I making sense here or not?
Yeah. No, I understand everything you're saying, and it's fascinating. I guess my question is, JFK's assassination is over 60 years ago. Watergate is over 50 years ago. Right. Doesn't there come a point where they can at least share some information that makes sense
Well, that's why
without opening up a can of worms in today's world.
that's why they release selected documents. But clearly, if you look kind of behind the curtain, Kennedy was assassinated by, it was basically a coup d'etat of the forces that were controlling foreign policy at that time, leftovers from the Eisenhower administration, people who wanted to keep fighting the Cold War. Kennedy had come to a point after the Cuban Missile Crisis where he was trying to reach détente with the Soviet Union and with Cuba. Tosh was involved in some of that because he was flying a reporter named Lisa Howard from ABC News to meet with Castro. And Castro was willing to negotiate with the Kennedys and say, okay, let's stop this nonsense of carrying out, covert operations trying to assassinate each other, and let's just work it out. Kennedy was scared, was frightened by the Cuban Missile Crisis because his generals had almost talked him into a nuclear exchange with the Soviet Union, and he came out of that going, I can't trust these guys. So he opened up secret communications with both Castro and Khrushchev, aimed at peace talks, de-arming, right? Well, to the military-industrial complex, this was horrible. Like, wait a minute, this is how we make all our money, on war, on building armaments, on scaring people, right? Kennedy wanted to pull out of Vietnam. He made that clear. I don't want to escalate that war. He said that the month before he was assassinated. Meanwhile, the military-industrial complex and the foreign policy leaders were pushing for escalation in Vietnam. They assassinated the president of Vietnam, Ngo Dinh Diem, 3 weeks before they assassinated Kennedy, because Ngo Dinh Diem also wanted to negotiate with Ho Chi Minh and end the war. And the United States military was going, no. Well, not even the military, but sort of the forces behind the military are going, no. This is going to be, a huge windfall for us.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me jump in here a minute. Ralph gives a very good analogy of our political system at that particular time. I can give an analogy from the viewpoint of an operative that carried out some very horrible operations. One of them in particular, we go back to Kennedy. We see, like everything else, we're now back into Kennedy. Let me put something that's in the book here that I was warned never to talk about. Don't you ever talk about this again, or you'll go to jail for the rest of your life. This is classified information, Mr. Plumlee, and if you continue, we will file charges on you, false accusations against the government. Go file your charges. I have something to say to a federal judge. I'd be happy to stand with my hand and swear what I'm telling is the truth. 2 of the assassins that fired on JFK from the north side were dead and buried before Lee Harvey Oswald was killed. Wait a minute. That's something that's never come out in the Warren Commission. Why didn't that operative testify to the Warren Commission that information? How come that information is not on record? It is on record. It's classified today. Top secret, committee sensitive. Am I right? Am I out of school here, Ralph?
No, that's true. Absolutely true. Yeah.
Absolutely true. Some of the documents that I just sent you guys from the Pentagon that's going through their PA-12 program has now uncovered some of those documents. You asked me how come they don't say this today? Is because of the legacies that have to be protected from our political system that was in power at that time when this government was being infiltrated by special operatives international, taking over our government with a secret army. We were in power to block that secret army that was infiltrating our federal government in the 50s and the 60s that got a United States president assassinated. Now, who was behind all that? We can go into 1,000 rabbit holes, and that's what we were just about ready to go into. They did this, they did that. This is the political, this is that, this is so like that. Why was those two guys killed and where the hell did they come from? Who recruited them and why did they recruit them? Why were we sent to the plaza to, quote, abort? What does that word abort really mean? Stop something that we started. Wait a minute. Abort? You were sent to abort the assassination of Kennedy? Why didn't they just pick up the phone and tell him not to go? They did tell him not to go. He said, I'm going anyway. And he went and got killed. They sent us in to stop it. How are we going to stop it? We wasn't supposed to stop anything. We took mafia people in with us to identify people in that plaza so that we could bump them out and mess up their timing and stop the assassination. Abort it? Wait a minute. Who started it? Why did they start it? Ralph just gave a good reason, and one of many reasons of why the hell they started it. Why is it so important for the Department of Justice, even today, not to release those documents that Ralph just made reference to? And I even sent some of the references earlier this week to you guys.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because what happens is that you start to reveal that this comes from within.
I'm alive and I can point the way to go.
Yeah.
To get the documentation and the proof that that media needs to do it. But our media is so infiltrated and has been over the last 50 years that they are their senior editors to block what the hell I'm talking to you guys about right now.
Yeah.
They're not going to let this out.
Yeah. They'll publish another book about
Yeah.
Lee Harvey Oswald, the killer, or Lee Harvey Oswald was this unstable guy. And so, but they'll
I'll
never
give
tell
you
you.
$5,000, Ralph, to plant this story that I'm going to give you, prearranged story, to take you off into a rabbit hole. I'll give you $5,000 because you got credentials and you're a reporter. So I want you to put this story in place and pull away from what this idiot conspiracy freak is talking about. That's how it works.
No, ABC just recently did a whole show on the Kennedy assassination. It was complete nonsense, and the experts that they had talking about it, they were like MTV correspondents and stuff like that. They're people who know nothing. They know not do history. It's like, are you serious? Seriously? This is
There have been people in the media like Dan Rather and Woodward and Bernstein who agree with you. I don't mean agree with every single thing you're saying, but the big picture agree with you that it couldn't have been Oswald, that it was something from the inside, that we have the documentation to prove, but they won't release. There are people, or at least there were people, willing to do that.
Yeah. Look at this. We're only talking about one operation.
Still.
Yeah.
I can lead you to 25 others that are as equally horrible as JFK.
Well, another thing we can talk about, another major operation that Tosh was involved with was Iran-Contra, right? So we were, Tosh.
Ralph, I don't mean to interrupt you, but for essence of time, let me interrupt. How did I get back involved? In other words, I have a record of being against these guys in Langley. How did I get back involved? IRS shut my businesses down, and you're a contractor and you know what I'm talking about. I had 9 backhoes and 25 guys working, and one day they go to work and there's IRS stamps all over my office. And I didn't file a return when I got money for the CIA through cutout companies. And I didn't return or declare the chips that I got from Cuba to cash in from Johnny Martino to pay for my expenses. That's how we got paid. That's how the FBI and the CIA said, well, if you talk about that, you're going to go to jail. Wait a minute. They didn't give us checks. They didn't give us cash. John Martino gave us gambling chips from Tropicana, thousands of dollars of gambling chips that we could go in and cash and walk out with $15,000 or $20,000 if we needed it. I didn't declare that. So in 71, 73, they said, well, hell, we're going to estimate how much you made and we're going to tax you accordingly. And they filed a tax lien on me and my company and put me completely out of business in order to shut me up so I would not talk to Ralph about what the hell we're talking about right now. Now, maybe this is not making sense out here, but it's something that I got to get off my chest. So as a result, I made contact with the Tri-State Drug Task Force, a friend of mine that worked for DEA. He said, Tosh, we need pilots. I said, I need a job. I need money. I've got a family to support. They've taken my car. They've taken my business. They put 19 of my workers out of business and they confiscated my backhoe and the bank is calling all my notes. What do you do? I went to work for the Tri-State Drug Task Force. Bruce Babbitt was in charge and I started flying guns and ammunition and drugs. 4 tons of cocaine I carried back into this country during the Iran-Contra affair. Bingo, I just laid a bomb. Did I just lie to the federal government? Well, if I did, why in the hell aren't they filing charges on me? Again, I will say it again. I went to work for the federal government through a DEA program that is documented and has been documented in order to take care of my family because the Internal Revenue filed liens on me from monies that I made when I was supplying guns and ammunition to Fidel Castro. Now, I can't say it any plainer than that. I'm on camera right now. I know this. You know, I'm talking to a bunch of good, qualified people. We got a book coming out. That's what started all this. This book has been 60 years in the making. I'm 88 years old and going to be dead and gone before long. And they've been hoping the hell I've been dead before now. Now, that doesn't mean that our whole system of DEA, FBI, and CIA is corrupt. But we have an oligarch in that position and a secret government that works in the shadows that, like the Wizard of Oz, pulls the strings.
Again, in Iran-Contra, you know, they had the hearings, they did all they you know, Ali North and all that nonsense. And out of the report, they basically said, oh, that there was no evidence that the United States was helping fly drugs into this country. I mean, a complete, you know, bullshit.
All right, in 1983, I started talking to Senator Hart and Bill Holden, his security advisor. And I said, you're not going to believe what in the hell we're involved with. I said, here's the maps. Here's the names of the pilots. Here's the ID numbers. And here's the aircraft companies that I'm flying cocaine into this country and drugs south. We're flying Stinger missiles down south. We're flying cocaine back into this country.
And landing.
Crazy, Tosh? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Do you know what they'll do to you if you try to come out and say that? Mr. Hart, this is what I'll tell you. And here's the documents, here's the maps, and here's the names. And he turned it over to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee, and they refused to investigate. And that information came from the Reagan era and also from the LBJ era, not to go into that because it would open up the Tonkin Gulf incident dating back to Vietnam. It would open up other situations of arms embargoes to Vietnam and Southeast Asia. It would open up the Libyan situation and the guns that went to Libya. It would open up too many channels that the American people could not take at that point in time to know that we were involved in doing those kind of things. And where did the money go? Campaign contributions to this day will not be investigated. There's your legacy. That's why you asked earlier, why don't they release some of those documents? Because those documents would go back to the legacies of the surviving families of these people that took campaign contributions from illegal gun shipments and illegal drug shipments going to foreign countries, and also the assassination of foreign leaders. One of them, Fidel Castro, who in turn got our president assassinated. Now, how else can you say this? I
No,
mean,
you're saying it. You're saying it brilliantly.
Is this
All-
Right.
something that
So
somebody could make up?
if I may summarize, again, I like big picture stuff.
Sure.
All of these things you're talking about had nothing to do with right and wrong, had nothing to do with helping people, helping governments, doing the right thing. It's all about the money.
Money and
Right.
Still is.
Right.
money.
I was gonna say there's probably 100 million people right now clapping their hands saying, "Thank you, Tosh, for bringing that stuff to us in the '80s. We appreciate it."
Well, yeah, okay. I appreciate being alive to be able to do it. I've been trying to do it for 60 years. What's been
Right.
blocking? What's been
Yeah,
blocking this?
It's
story?
all money and power, right?
That's
Mhm.
right.
So the devil's tools, right?
The reason that I went with this tremendous writer right here is because he knows what in the hell I'm talking about. And when we've had our meetings over the years, it took us how many years before we decided to do this, Ralph? We got together because of an actor friend of ours, mutual friend, that was basically begging me to talk to this man. I could not get this story out. I made 47 different applies under a book titled The Black Knights of Cuba to tell one simple story, what our crews were doing inside Cuba in the 50s. And I got turned down 137 times because I was an unknown, and I was a known bullshitter, and I was a character assassinated by my own government. So I did not have the credentials. This actor friend of ours, Lou, I can say, I won't give his last name, but anyway, he basically said, I got to get you with this guy. And that's how we got together. Am I right here, Ralph?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we haven't even been told the truth about the Batista revolution in Cuba.
No.
Never mind Castro.
No.
The Batista?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell. Shit. Yeah. I'm riding on top of a tank.
Yeah.
1959 in Santa Clara,
Picture
up with Che
of
Guevara
Tosh, yeah.
and these guys. I'm picturing me. What in the hell is a CIA guy doing on top of a tank with corporal stripes on?
Next to Che Guevara on top of the tank.
That's the Che Guevara. Yeah.
Why do you guys think, Ralph and Tosh, both of you, the Caribbean has got dozens and dozens and dozens of islands that are very close to the United States?
Mhm.
Why is Cuba always the one that seems to be the tipping point politically?
Well, because that's the seat of the power. In other words, there's so much that went on. The Cuban Missile Crisis, if you look at the strategics of firing missiles, where else are you going to fire them from? In other words, you get into a position on firing range and targeting, you get down to specific areas, GPS. In other words, you can't use Cat Cave, little island off there. You can't use the Andors, it's out of range. You can't do it. Where do you use that? Outside of Havana. All those little deals where they came in and put these missile sites. Here's a story that nobody knows about. Do you know the first time that the United States Army clashed with the Russian regular army was in Cuba at a missile site in 1962? A firefight where 3 CIA people were killed and left on a beach. Don't know about that
Got a
story.
message that there were Soviet technicians, missile technicians, who wanted to defect.
And we were sent in to get them out and bring them back so that they could testify. This is Operation Tilt, also known as Operation Red Cross. You can look it up.
And did we bring them back?
Well, when they got to the beach, they found them with their throats cut.
We got on the beach, and I'm one of the guys that got on the beach, and I saw a guy with his throat slit, and they slit all 3 of their throats and left them on the beach for us to find. They put a note on one of them and said, "Yankee, go home. We know who you are, and we know how you got here." That's the reality of what we were doing in the Cold War. We went there from a PBY that belonged to Texaco Petroleum. We got there on a rubber raft to remove those Russian technicians. This is recorded. It's been released. It's not declassified. It was declassified in 77. But we got there, sent in there through Operation Tilt and
Ambassador Pauly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm getting the names. But we were sent in there from Marathon Key on a Texaco PBY to go on shore and remove those colonels, a Russian colonel, a captain, and 2 Russian missile technicians. And we got to the beach, and they'd already been split up. Later, when they went in there to remove our people, they got involved in another firefight. These are 2 firefights that we got involved with Cuba during the Cold War during the missile crisis that you don't hear a damn thing about. The story went out to the family that 2 of those technicians, our CIA techs, were killed in a car accident at Fort Ord, California. And they were sitting shot up on a beach in Cuba when they went in to remove Russian missile technicians. This is a story I'm not supposed to be talking to you about right now. It's another Plumlee bullshit story. But the documents are there. They're starting to leak out. How come after all these years are these documents now finally starting to come out? And it says, oh, wow, this guy who was buried 9 years ago was talking about that. How come we didn't listen?
Can I ask another big picture opinion from both of you?
Sure.
Jeff's just over here like, wow.
Well, I mean, it's not easy being a bullshitter, I'll tell you.
No, and no one here thinks you are, sir. Believe me.
No.
Yeah.
Leaving Russia and China out of the question, do you think all the nations in the world have this kind of secret stuff going on, that the entire world's population has been fooled by their own governments?
Well, okay. Let me bring up something else in relation to what you're asking. What about Cuba? I mean, not Cuba. What about Libya?
Yeah.
What about Iran? Early stages. You're asking about other countries, other nations. Our foreign policy is what you're talking about. How many of these operations were ongoing during our time of our foreign policy, which involved arms going to Libya?
Yeah.
Gaddafi.
Well, to answer your question, Jeff, when people have power, they like to use it. A lot of people do not. They talk about democracy. They talk about giving people agency and the choice to choose their own government. And other people who are more cynical and a lot of times occupy positions of power, they don't believe that. They think they're smarter, that they should be the ones making the decisions about what we do, about where we work, about how our economy works. They hide behind democracy, but they don't really believe in it. And so if you're a powerful arms dealer or a banker or something like this, you go, I'm not going to trust the American people, people to vote and make the right decisions. We'll make the decisions for them. But we won't let them know that we're making the decisions for them. We'll hide everything that we do.
Do you think President Eisenhower was trying to warn us when he
was trying to warn
us? Well, yeah.
He was.
He almost got his tit in a ringer for doing that too, didn't he?
The last speech he made before he left office was the hero of World War II.
I don't know how you cleaner way to say that. But
he's telling people it's not the military, it's the military industrial complex.
Let me throw this at you. You guys are old enough to know. Do you remember about the missing Stinger missiles that went to Libya that CIA Casey was involved with? Do you know the C-130 that carried those missiles to Libya? TOW missiles? How did they get there? Where did they come from? How about the arsenal at Hawthorne, Nevada?
Well, where did the missiles, the weapons come that you used to send to Fidel Castro? They were stolen from National Guard armies around the country.
Say that again, please. You both talked. Hold on, guys. You both said something very important, and you talked over each other. Okay, where did they come from?
They were stolen from National Guard armories in the country. Now, they were conveniently stolen. They weren't like, breaking in and people getting arrested for it.
The door was left open for them.
The door was left open.
Let me give you an actual example.
Yeah.
Life magazine photographs a Sherman tank coming in to Santa Clara on January 1st, 1959. There's a guy, me, on top of that tank. We'll forget about that. Where the hell did that tank come from? A Sherman tank. How the hell did it get to Cuba in 1959? We were supplying guns and ammunition to according to the American treaty, Pan American Treaty, we're required to furnish guns and ammunition and supplies, military supplies, to the country of Cuba, run by a dictator known as Batista. That was a Batista American Sherman tank that he had that was captured by Fidel Castro and drove into Havana. Question being, where in the hell did that tank come from? How did that tank and those 30 caliber machine guns and all those M16s and all that ammunition, how the hell did it get there and where did it come from? Wait a minute, check it back. It was stolen from National Guard armies in the United States and shipped to Cuba. Wait a minute, that's impossible. Another Plumlee story. Well, wait a minute, go and look at Life magazine and look at the damned arms and ammunition that Batista had and ask one simple question. How the hell did he get it? Where the hell did it come from? And then blow up a picture of one of the weapons and look at the ID number and find out it was issued to the Texas 49th Armored Division in Austin, Texas, and San Marcos, and National Guard armories. Wait a minute. These are records that ATF, I mean the early, not ATF, but the early, was checking. Where the hell did they go? How was these National Guard armies broken into? How did they know those weapons were there? How did they know how to ship them? How the hell did they leave the United States? How in the hell do you get a damn Sherman tank in an airplane that couldn't even carry a damn tank in those years? How do you get it to Cuba? And if you look on the side, you will see a National Guard armory paint over the damn tank. Now, wait a minute. What happened to all our investigative committees?
That was my next question. Do you guys think that our Congress people and senators know all of this?
They knew every damn thing about it, and they were getting campaign contributions
They're-
to keep the damn mouth shut.
Both Democrat
That's what I say, simple as that.
they don't want to know.
They don't want to know. I've even had them tell me, don't tell me that.
Yeah, they don't want.
I don't want to know. I had a mafia guy tell me, don't talk to me about that. I don't want to know. Johnny Rosselli told me one time, he says, don't tell me that. Because if they subpoena me, I have to tell them under oath. Don't tell me that.
It's still going on today.
deniability.
Yeah, about,
All right, now, I'm getting a little carried away here.
So 7 or 8 years ago, I was approached by a guy who was a British Special Forces guy, SAS guy, and he had run the operation in Benghazi. So basically what happened was that he was approached by some people in the CIA, and they said, we're looking for weapons without any U.S. footprint on them that we ship to the rebels in Syria.
Right.
You to set up a network to do this. So he goes, okay, where do I get these weapons? And they said, well, go to Bulgaria. Bulgaria's got a whole stash of weapons. So he goes to Bulgaria and it doesn't work out. He's almost killed. The Bulgarians are run by a mafia, very dangerous people. He gets a call a couple months later. And they said, okay, we found a stash of weapons for you. And then he goes, okay, where do I go? And he goes, go to Libya, go to Benghazi. There's an Al-Qaeda aligned warlord in Benghazi who has a stash of all the NATO weapons that were shipped there to help overthrow Gaddafi. And so this guy goes, oh, wait a minute. You want me on the behalf of the U.S. government to go talk to this warlord who's affiliated with Al-Qaeda, buy these weapons from him and ship them to Syria, to the rebels in Syria. And they went, yes. So he sets up this whole network, and it's all under, run through NGOs, non-governmental organizations, nothing with the official U.S. imprint on it. And he goes there and he sets it all up. He has a whole team. He has a team in Syria. He has a team in Benghazi, and they're getting orders. We need this many, wet missiles. We need this many. And a guy from the State Department would show up with a briefcase full of money. They would drive out to this warlord, and they would pay for the weapons. And this gentleman that I wrote the book with had the whole network that flew them to Syria. Well, the rebels that they were training in Syria, who did they turn out to be? They turned out to be ISIS, right? That was the beginning of ISIS. We were helping them. We were helping to arm them. So what happens in Benghazi is that on their own, the CIA had picked up this warlord's nephew.
Okay.
So the next time they went to get another order of weapons from this warlord, he put knives to their necks and said, I'm going to cut your heads off. You deceived me. And these guys are going, hey, we're not Americans. We're British. We're just, fulfilling the orders. Like, it's not us. And he goes, well, you have my nephew and you're torturing him and I want him back. And not only from now on, the price doubles and I want a meeting with your ambassador to Libya. That's why they sent Ambassador Stevens to Benghazi to meet with this.
Ambassador Stevenson found out all about that, the arms that was transferred in the annex building of the CIA.
They attacked because that's where this guy's nephew was being held, at the annex building. All right. Mm-hmm. So this whole crazy thing happens, that attacks. They try to rescue Ambassador Stevens. He was burned to death in the compound and so on. Then they attack the CIA compound. And what happens is, and all of this was ordered by Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State.
Okay, make a note.
I want to say something real quick, folks. 13 Hours was the movie that they released on this, but you don't see any of that in the movie.
No. They just show you a bunch of action, right? And they don't show you.
They show you a little bit about what's going on and how Hillary Clinton and bullshit.
But they never tell you the context, right?
Right.
So it's the context that is important. So anyway, I wrote this book. I wrote it with a major publisher, Little Brown. I told them it was just going to be about this guy's life and all these things that he had done. The book was being published, and I get a call from the Hillary Clinton office, and they're basically saying, "Hey, you can't put this book out. This implicates Hillary involved in this operation." And I'm like, the book's coming out in 3 weeks. It's already been through the lawyers. It's been, vetted and proofread and so on. I can't stop it. Well, they tried to just, the day the book was published, we had like 400 negative reviews on Amazon. They just tried to kill the book. But it ended up having a life anyway, and so on and so forth. I'm just using this as another example of one of these operations that nobody's ever heard about. All you heard about was that the ambassador in Benghazi was burned alive by a bunch of crazy.
In conjunction with what Ralph is talking about, make a note and go on the internet and ask about the 11 Benghazi questions that was asked at the same time. What he's talking about ties in with exactly what he just said, was an attempt to expose information that the ambassador was sending back to this administration at that time. I'm not going to mention a bunch of names, but that was going on. We had the information. It was suppressed, covered up, and an ambassador lost his life because of that. I mean, this is the same kind of MOs that was.
And what did they say? They were mad because there was a cartoon made about Muhammad.
Muhammad's right. That's what
bullshit. Pull this stuff out of it.
Behind the scenes, this is the same type of operation that was going on with Batista in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. In other words, we deal in arms and pass the money back into campaign contributions. Now, that's the short version. Do you want the long version?
We don't have time for the long version this time.
No.
But I want to let me say something here. I got my laugh. I'm glad. Listening, and I believe both of you. I believe you.
Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I'm thinking, what's in my head? Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Should you or any of your IM force be caught or killed, the secretary will disavow any knowledge of your actions. Good luck.
Right.
That's the way it works. Yeah.
But see, we step into that. Look, they tell us
This,
that on
you
the
don't
front.
exist. Yeah.
They
That's
tell
how
us
Tosh
that,
lived
but-
his whole life.
Yeah,
right?
this
So
is
he's
nothing
paid.
new.
He never gets a paycheck from the CIA or
No.
from the government. He gets a paycheck through cutout companies.
Dude, I'm patriotic, man. I'm doing this for my flag. I mean, my God,
So
there's
the
a
Dodge
young kid.
Corporation or the
Look, let's call it deep cover, shallow graves. Oh my God, that'll really
Right.
grab some shit.
So if you look at his background, you go, well, he was just a pilot. Like he was being paid by all these funky companies. Well, they made sure that he was employed throughout his whole career. They found all these little jobs for him so that they could just call him in when they needed him.
But man, I was proud to be able to do all that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, my gosh, I mean, we're doing this for this is, you know, regardless of what was really going on in the political structure, there was another real life situation going on with us young guys. We were doing this for the flag, man. I mean, the propaganda and bullshit that was pumped up our ass in those years is unbelievable today.
Like this
Tosh, there is nobody on this show, Tosh, who will ever question your patriotism.
Well, I mean, you know, that's what we were raised with. Like I go back to I can remember air raids at night, hiding under, scared shitless at 6, 7 years old, hiding under a table because the Japs are going to bomb us. Couldn't go outside because might open the curtains and a light go out and they'll bomb us. I was a little kid that scared shitless in those years. I can imagine what the hell's going on with little kids over in Iran right now and other places.
Well, this is what they do.
Yeah.
This is what they do. They recruit young guys who are adventurous, who like to take risks, who have a lot of wild energy in them. My friend, the man I told you about, who I wrote the book with, the SAS soldier, it was the same deal. He was a career criminal when he was young. He used to steal cars, and he was caught. He was thrown in prison, and he was at like 16, 17 years old. And some military people came to him and said, "Hey, you're going to spend the next 8 years in jail. We'll give you a choice. You can either stay in jail, or you can come with us and we'll train you and put you in special forces." And so he chose the latter. And, you know, and when you're that young, you don't understand all the political context and that these people are not really working for the benefit of your society. You don't.
I had a guy tell me one time, Army guy out of Dallas, he said, "Hey, you want to put that motorcycle down and I'll teach you to drive a Sherman tank." So I said, "Shit, yeah." So I want to drive a Sherman tank. So I'm driving a Sherman tank on a bivouac going out to Great Bend Lake when they built in Dallas. And my uncle sees me driving a damn tank and tells my dad, and they get in a big fight and says, "Bobby couldn't be driving no damn American tank. He's only 14 years old. What the hell is he doing? You're saying he's in the National Guard? How the hell is he could be in the National Guard?" My family didn't know I'd forged a birth certificate and hid my uniform under a mattress so that I could go to meetings, and I learned how to drive a Sherman tank at 14. Now, somebody says, "Boy, that guy's got a hell of a bullshit. Look at my DD-214s, and what does it say?" What does it say, Ralph?
It's all there.
It's all there.
Oh, I want to ask an odd question, only because I'm really curious. Even in today's world, is the government of countries nothing more than a ruse? Because everything really happens behind the scenes and undercover.
I honestly believe this. Our international situation is totally in a flux that the average American citizen cannot even comprehend how it exists.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Well, my father was a lifelong diplomat, and he was he served as an ambassador
We Americans,
Yeah.
by
Let me,
our
Tosh,
leadership,
just
are
a
having
second. So,
conflict.
towards the end of his career, I sent him a book for his birthday, and it was by a guy named General Mesley. He worked for Roosevelt. He's a famous general, and he was like the Henry Kissinger of his time.
Mm-hmm.
And in his book, in the first chapter, he goes, "I thought I was a patriot, and I was fighting for liberty and democracy and American principles. And what I really realized at the end of my career was that I was just a whore for Wall Street."
Mhm.
I gave that to my father
well
when
said.
he was like 50 years old. And
Yeah.
he never read it. When he was 94 years old, just when he was really failing, I went to visit him, and I was walking with him around his neighborhood, and he goes, "Hey, Ralph, you remember that book you gave me like 30 years ago for my birthday?" And I'm like, "General Smedley?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I just read that book." He goes, "That was me." So here he had like a 50, 60-year career as a distinguished diplomat, a real patriot, somebody who had, served all different administrations. And at the end of his life, he realizes, all of that was bullshit. That was the window dressing. But whose interests were we really fighting for? Whose interests were we really protecting and projecting? The big money people. They're
Our,
the people who really control the country.
our system is nothing different than the Wizard of Oz. Follow the yellow brick road, and you'll get to the guy that's pulling the strings. He's behind the curtain. The little dog pulls the shade back, and he's revealed.
Well,
Ralph pulls the shade. I pull the shade. A couple others, you guys pull the shade with this program. And eventually the American people start saying, and not just the American people, the international consortium starts saying, aha, how come I didn't see this? It's so simple. It's all about money.
Right.
It's all about power.
Money and
I
power.
mean, I will say,
We have the Heritage Foundation. I got to put this in here. And we have a program that was launched many, many years ago, which we had called Operation P 2025. That operation has been whittled, added, and added to, and given to our elected officials, sometimes threateningly, to carry out piece by piece by piece, decade by decade by decade. So we're talking about infiltration. We're not talking about a program that suddenly was launched upon the American people. We're talking about a systematic approach to destroying our democracy and our freedom. We're talking about one thing: good and evil.
And that is a great way to end the program, because we can't do better than that.
so,
Well, that's it.
no, that was definitely it. You made mention about, bringing, pulling the shades with shows like this and other shows that are out there. What I was going to say is 30 years ago, these things were not at the ready. We couldn't do this. So these things could not come out.
Yeah.
In today's day and age, even with the technical difficulties, I found 9 other platforms to push it to.
Right.
We can do these things,
That's right. Yeah.
And I do want to say to our viewers, we have access to a lot of guests similar to this that we could potentially be putting on at some point. So just pay attention to that. But pick up the book, Deep Cover, Shallow Graves, written by these 2 amazing gentlemen. Show notes up above, down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. And the reason Jeffrey Mark jumped in is because we are like overtime, which is fine.
Oh, yeah.
But Mr. Holman will get very hungry. You ever see that Snickers commercial?
Yeah,
you know what?
That's
Well,
the
I
only
do wanna-
reason I did that, because we're running over.
Wait a minute.
Well, I
Yeah.
do want to say that what scares me the most about talking to you guys is the justification of what I always thought was true really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Our job is to,
All of us probably were very idealistic young guys who, you know, believed this propaganda that we heard, you know, that we're the country that stands up for freedom and democracy. And in some respects, that's true. But then behind it, there's this other element that's operating of powerful men who want power and money. And they're not going to let just guys like us decide the direction of the country, which is the way the system was set up. The system was set up for people to express what kind of government they wanted, what kind of policy they wanted, and powerful people have infiltrated, taken that over for their own means. Like, no, we want to make the decisions. We want to, we want to chart the course. We're not going to let people do that.
it's people like you guys and Ralph, and I'll put myself in there, that can only point the way. It's not what we say. It's not we're asking to believe us. We're in a position now, and you guys are in a position to point the way to prove what we say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what this book is all about.
Right.
This book is not designed to tell you what to think. It's designed to point you by giving references of actual action events and point you where to go to confirm that those events happened.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? Am I up here? I know we're all the time.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I mean, I just want to throw out there that I've always believed that some things need to be believed to be seen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we're on a path. You guys are on a path. Good gracious, wherever you want to call it. You got tied in with Ralph. I got tied in with Ralph. Ralph got tied in with me. I got tied in with you. You got tied in with him. So I'm like, what's our message? What are we doing this for? To tickle our ears so that we can be great people and maybe get into politics and run and become a president and tell other people how to live
No, thank you.
Not I.
No.
Yeah, no fucking thank you.
No.
Well, I mean, golly, I want to be a dictator. I want to control the world. I want to tell you how to think. I want to tell you what to drink.
Take us home.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yep.
We got into this.
Is that what we're raised to do? I'm losing my mind here. I don't know what
I see.
I'm an American citizen. And I'm not sure what in the fuck I'm doing here.
I know what you're doing here. You're trying to push the fact that it still should be we the people, not use the people.
That's right.
Well, that's it.
You hit the nail on
Right. So,
but
on
damn,
that
I don't know. I mean, I'm about ready to take some of that campaign contributions that they got laying out there. You know, I can become a whore in a heartbeat. You know? And that's what's happening to our politicians.
Yeah.
on that note, folks, I'm just going to say real quick, the reason that we got into doing this is not for politics or for any of that shit. It's to bring amazing guests like this up here and listen to some amazing shit, whatever it is, whatever the show's about.
So you're a media whore?
I guess I am a media whore.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wish I was getting paid like a media whore.
And I don't drink. But after this program, I think I will.
On that note,
You
folks,
guys are nuts. You know,
check
really.
check the show notes
Had a brain
up above.
Play with it. I know you would.
Check the show notes up above or down below. There's a link to both these gentlemen, the book. I suggest you pick it up if you really want to know more, because we would have to do 20 parts just to get through 3 chapters. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, man. You know, but pay attention pay attention to some of the upcoming guests because we are going to schedule Ralph back to talk about him, his parents, things that he grew up with.
Yeah, fantastic.
It'll blow your fucking mind, just like this show has. So on that note, Mr. Jeffrey Mark, where can people find you?
Facebook, Jeffrey Mark, just as it's spelled. If you're watching, if you're listening, it's Jeffrey with a G and Mark with a K. Jeffrey Mark Showbiz on Instagram. You want to hear more from me? We have a show, Jeffrey Mark Plays Ella, every week, where we play the music of Ella Fitzgerald, and I give you insider information about all that stuff. And that is I. And now, Jeff Holman, where we find you.
Well, after this show, I'm going into fucking hiding. Go to stilltoken.com and, you don't know what's going on out there. Nobody really does.
The
so
shadow knows.
Keep your eyes open and your head on a swivel because you never know when you're going to get Clintons.
And the other beauty of doing shows like this, folks, is you can't fucking cancel us. You're right. You cannot. We cannot be canceled. You can try like hell, but we have access to over 40 platforms. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but we will be there somewhere. We had a difficult time starting this tonight. Some of the Facebook channels didn't take. It's okay. Yep. I pushed it to other channels. I still got the stream out. We still got the story out. I want to thank Ralph and Tosh for taking time out of their busy lives to come back here again, fill you in on a little bit of part 2. I want to thank my amazing co-hosts, flashy and not so flashy. But in all seriousness, we want to thank our veterans and first responders. What was that?
Don't ask. Go.
I like Mark's tuxedo. I'm gonna have to get me something like that to go to meetings in.
Yeah, we'll go shopping sometime. Continue to thank our first responders. Go.
I want to thank our veterans and first responders for doing what you do so people like us can actually do what we do. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. We're out of here.
Try and have a happy.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So come on.